Good evening and welcome everyone. Tonight we will celebrate 27 extraordinary rabbis who have spent the last 3 years studying in the 5th cohort of the RLI Fellowship Program. They have spent a month every summer and a week every winter here in Jerusalem, and they have studied together in year-long distance learning webinars, chavruta study, and small group dialogue. Together with our senior faculty, the RLI Fellows have explored the contemporary challenges of Judaism, Jewish peoplehood, and Israel. Tonight we celebrate not only their commitment and accomplishment in graduating as senior Hartman Rabbinic Fellows, but we also express our gratitude as a machon for their partnership, their leadership, and the impact that they have made on our Hartman community. This phenomenal group of rabbis is possibly the most musical group of rabbis we have ever had here at the Shalom Hartman Institute. From the very beginning, they have been singing together. So I particularly love that they are graduating during a week when we read about the Israelites singing to a well after Miriam has died, leaving the community bereft of water. Az yashir Yisrael et hashira hazot, ali ve'er enula. Then Israel sang this song, "Spring up, O well, sing to it." Each rabbi in RLI 5 came to the Hartman Institute thirsting for something, looking to replenish and revitalize their rabbinates. But they also came with their unique voices and gifts. And they joined their voices together and they continually encouraged one another to sing new songs. One of the most profoundly moving qualities of this cohort is the deep humility and openness to each and every member of RLI 5. They brought a humility to this experience, and it was from this place of humility and mutual respect that the rabbis of this cohort created a space of acceptance and nurturance. They gave one another the benefit of the doubt at every turn. They looked for the best in each and every member of the group. They championed each other, encouraged each other, and bolstered one another's courage and sense of self-confidence. I think that there are so few places where a rabbi can go without feeling judged, where a rabbi can be honest and vulnerable, experiment with new ideas, be challenged to change, and feel empowered to take risks. We strove to create a springboard where our faculty could engage the rabbis of RLI 5 in deep thinking about the challenges of Judaism in the 21st century and the text and values of our tradition that could guide their rabbinic leadership in the future. Together, in dialogue with our faculty and with one another, these rabbis have transformed their Torah, their relationship to Israel, and their vision of rabbinic leadership. Thank you, RLI 5, for modeling such a beautiful, rare, and sacred rabbinic community. Thank you for the music that you have brought to our machon. May your wells ever spring forth with the light of Torah, and may you always find a place here at the Shalom Hartman Institute to continue learning and to continue encouraging one another to sing new songs. Mazel tov.
Hi. So many times I've heard different interpretations of Aseh lecha rav u'kneh lecha chaver. Or is it, did we get it right? Yeah, got it. It's been a long year. What's the difference between a friend and a rabbi? What's the difference why you aseh for this one and kneh for this one? Teachings that were moderately interesting. What's so beautiful about RLI 5 is that they found a way to do Aseh lecha rav u'kneh lecha chaver at the same time. They were each other's friends and each other's rabbis. And it was our privilege. And it's the so-called unexpected, but it is the programmed dimension of this mysterious program, is that you are, at the end of the day, each other's friends and each other's rabbis, and because you're each other's friends, you can be each other's rabbis, and because you're each other's rabbis, you can be each other's friends. And as you leave here, you're going to leave with a cohort of people who are going to be with you for the rest of your careers, and that is your greatest strength. You are the first RLI group which didn't learn directly during your program from my father. He died 6 months before your program started. And this program and this whole endeavor with rabbis was his initial passion. From my father's perspective, if the institute was a research institute and an institute for rabbis, perfect. It was complete. It wasn't Dayenu in the sense that there would be another, it was the last line of Dayenu. And he would love to have been here. He would have loved to see you. And he would be very, very proud. And in his honor, I'd like to teach or conclude with one of his favorite teachings and leave it to you as a bracha. In Tosefta Sotah it says, Lo yamar adam ba'atzmo, ho'il ve'elu osrim ve'elu mitirim lama ani lamed. Person shouldn't say to himself, if these people say that it is asur and these people say it's mutar, what's the purpose of learning? I want to know. Tamud lamar nitnu mi ro'eh echad, they were given from one shepherd. Ro'eh echad kiblan, el echad bara'an. One shepherd received them, Moses. One God created them. And then in one of his favorite verses, Afata aselibcha kechadrei chadarim, v'achnes bo divrei metamim v'divrei metarim. You too, therefore, make your heart a heart of many rooms, so that you could have space to put there both the opinions of those who prohibit and the opinions of those who permit. My bracha to you is that you're going to have to not only learn, but more significantly and much more difficultly, you're going to have to be teachers, and our teachers, and our rabbis in a world which is so dichotomous, where it's not merely the rabbis who are mitamim and mitaharim, but our community is mitaher and mitameh. Our community is crossing every boundary before we could even imagine it. And as we rabbis get ready, and we're just exactly ready for what they are, and we have the perfect, forget Yom Kippur sermon, but we have the perfect response to how to help the Jewish people where they are. Oops, we find that they're in a completely other place. And it's really, really hard to be a rabbi today. It's really, really hard to be a leader of a people who at sometimes seem boundaryless. And it's more difficult, it's really, really hard to be a rabbi today in a period where our people are so bifurcated that regardless of what you say, somebody's going to be your enemy for what it is that you said. How do you work, not how do you learn, how do you work as a rabbi when our community not just has different opinions, but is so intolerant of them? My bracha to you is that this group, which has such a big heart, shouldn't just have a big heart, but should have a heart with many rooms. Should have a heart to speak to those people who don't like you as a rabbi. Should have a heart to speak to those people who you don't like as Jews. To speak to those congregants who you wish were in somebody else's shul. At the end of the day, El Echad Bara'an. One God created our people. One God created our world. And to have a space to be able to lead in this time not to try to homogenize everybody, because that's not going to work, but to have a place in your hearts and in your Torahs so that everybody can find the oxygen that they need in order to live their religious lives. If you could be such rabbis, if you can grow and strengthen those qualities, my father would be very proud of you. This institute is very proud of you. And my bracha is that the Jewish people should be very, very proud that we have rabbis such as you to lead us into the future. Mazal tov.
Each and every member of our Life 5 is a gifted teacher and a gifted speaker with a beautiful Torah to share. But for the purposes of this evening, 2 members of the class will be representing the rest of their cohort and sharing their experiences and their feelings about learning together over the past 3 years. Tina Grimberg and then Adam Kligfeld.
Thank you for this honor, and what a privilege. So I would like to go back to just about 3.5 years ago, or actually exactly 3.5 years ago, and when the courtyard was emptied of us students and the bustle and sounds of the voices were quieted, I stood outside in a courtyard and saw the stars above me. In my arms, I held a very heavy binder. Very heavy, brilliantly organized. And I realized what a responsibility. Here below these stars, in a region called Middle East, in an incredible place, Israel, in a city of Jerusalem, here in a pulpit of my universe now, I was standing ready to learn. Hartman not only delighted me with its organization and its unbelievable preempt to what I needed to learn, but at this magical place, around 10:30, as if somebody has clapped their hands twice, and like at pilgrimage holidays, somebody brought forward bowls of fruit, cookies, to nourish our peckish need to be nurtured. Not only did our bodies desire to be loved, it was our mind and our souls that were thirsty, dry and thirsty. It was like a dew. There is something about Hartman that feels like good parenting. Many of us here pour heart, blood, kishkas, souls, intellect, resources into those we love the most. Now, there are some rewards along the way, some markers. My community has been learning for 3 years in a row in a lay leadership program. Some are here for lay leadership program in Jerusalem and who are attending today. We begin I Engage this fall. These are great accomplishments. But above all, I will go back to my own self. Coming to Hartman was like hitting middle age and finally realizing you need a pair of reading glasses. For a while you fight it. You say you don't need it. You're fine. You move the page a little bit away from your body, closer, turn it around, try it, fake it, or not. But once you give in, you can't live without these lenses, because every page is uncovered and discovered in an absolutely particular, special way. Without those lenses and the keys, it would be one dry spell of a rabbinate. You are the dew that nourished the soul. Ner Adonai, Nishmat Adam. The light, the soul of man, of a human being, is the flame to God. Nourishing the need, I think it was about 9:30, I met Biti just a few days ago on a stairway going on a second floor, and I said, Biti, I need text. Would you help me? Within a moment, few moments, beautiful Torah came onto my iPad. Zohar echoing Tanya. Why is the soul of man like a flame to God? It's because the flame goes up towards the Holy One. And so are we, our life, towards something beautiful, intellectual, honest, thoughtful, knowledgeable. The story comes to mind is from S. Gardiner, a Russian Jewish writer. And it's called A Quarrel, or an argument. It's about father and son sitting at a table. And the question in mind, where is redemption come from? What will be its source? And the father, stroking its beard, says to his son, Torah, tradition, Talmud, this is where redemption will come from. And the son responds to his father, but Papa, the world is large out there, large and vast and huge. The world is much bigger. The father's eyes, like two pools of Ukrainian lakes, looked at the son and said, do you see this little lamp on a table? The light is soft. If I take it outside, it will disappear in the light of those stars. But here in this room, it illuminates the face I love, your face. Faces of my Havraya and of my teachers, illuminated with a soft glow as we studied under the canopy, Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha, under the canopy, protecting us from the scorched sun. It was a soft glow when we sang in bomb shelters in 2014, waiting for redemption. It was that soft, beautiful glow with a song that we sang, reciting Havdalah, and the love of the land that came from our heart to our feet, to our soul, to our kishkas. Ner Adonai, Nishmat Adam. I took my little lamp outside on a dark night. Took a chance. And thought, what if I'm alone, holding that sweet little light? I was wrong. On my right, my fellow friends, my cohorts, was standing holding the light. On my right and on my left and in front of me and behind me, and the courtyard was filled with students of Hartman and students of their students. As a result of this institution, we made Torah greater in this world. Thank you, Hartman, for the love, faith, commitment, and enormous knowledge you have poured into us. You can only teach Torah with kindness. Above all, thank you for your kindness.
כבוד הרבנים והמורים והמשפיעים והחברים האהובים. It's with tremendous sense of honor and a little trepidation that I share words of Torah in front of my teachers, my shefa givers, and most sweetly my colleagues, my dear beloved friends from RLI 5. It's also lovely to have members of my community who are here, who happen to be in Israel, and dear friends. And it's always wonderful to have your mother in the audience as well, who came here just from Connecticut to be here. Because that way, no matter what happens here, at least one person will have thought it was perfect. My father is a child psychiatrist, and although he doesn't do analysis, he trained in analysis. And as someone who is curious about the mind and the psyche, I once asked him, Abba, what is the goal? What is psychoanalysis? What is the goal of psychoanalysis? And he said the goal of psychoanalysis is to achieve the utter and complete transformation of the self. That when you complete psychoanalysis, you are literally a different human being from almost every angle. I think it is an apt analogy to what immersing in the Hartman world, and particularly the Hartman RLI cohort, does for a group of rabbis. I will say personally, but I'm in the nodding heads, I imagine my cohort agrees, that after this 3 years, we have gone through a near utter transformation of our religious selves and our rabbinic realities. To have such a transformation take place in the minds and hearts of people who are already quite developed. Perhaps the people in the Jewish community who would have been in least need of such transformation, says so much about the depth and the sophistication and the care with which this program is put together. So when people ask me, what have you gotten from the Hartman experience? I said, did you remember me before the Hartman experience? It was quite pitiful, if you think about it. Just a few examples, just to make a point. Before Hartman, before I studied here, I never, ever understood that you could put God second. First, third, fifth, tied for eighth, maybe. Putting God second never would occur to me. Before studying with you, Yehuda, a few years ago, when you gave us that great teaching in this room based on Reb David's teachings, I personally thought that Auschwitz and Sinai were the same thing. The idea that they're different, never would occur to me. Before studying with BT and Malila, I thought the Kabbalah was the thing you took from your cabbie to keep him honest. And I thought that my cosmology was pretty much in order and that the sun was the center of the universe. But now I realize it isn't. It's the German colony. I'm a completely new person and a completely new rabbi in shticky and in serious ways. Moments in my teaching when I intended it and I didn't intend it. and individual aphorisms or pieces of Torah come from my mouth that I can remember the exact moment that I learned it and the person from whom I learned it. Doing deep and important thinking about theology and the place of ritual and what a concept, the relationship between ritual and what we actually believe. Challenging ideas about the condition and the future of Israeli society that I thought thoughtfully about before, but didn't realize how much depth I further needed to explore. The idea is so important that we muster not just rabbinates that are successful, that's not a bad thing, but rabbinates that are purposeful, that have a chance of changing the world. That fire got reignited here. And perhaps the most important for me reality, the reminder that pluralism is not only primary, but that stasis is antithetical. It is anathema to the Jewish condition, to Jewish practice, to Jewish thought, to Jewish community, and to Jewish reality, to Jewish consciousness. That is a Torah that will continue to shout in my mind from this institute. And it brings me to a text that we didn't specifically learn here. We couldn't get to every single one of the texts in the canon. We got to most of them. And that is Buber's take on the phrase, lo taseh lecha pesel, that you shall not make for yourself an idol, an image of God. And Buber says that's not just a prohibition, it is an inability. It's not just that you mustn't, you cannot. You cannot make out of God a static image. Images of God are kaleidoscopic, shifting brilliances that might linger for a minute or an hour or a day or a week or a year or a decade. But inevitably, the frame shifts, the colors collide, and so does your conception of Torah and God. That is a teaching that this institute exemplifies every single day. And the question that I have to ask for myself as I stand here with the bittersweetness of completing something so nourishing and also completing something so overwhelming is, what do we do with the experience that we had with each other and in this room and rooms like it over the last 3 years? And I want to share with you two warring instincts for what to do. And they emerge from something I want to say about the actual moment in the week that we're sitting in right now. Tuesday night is not necessarily known as an important Jewish moment, but it's a significant moment in the week. Because Tuesday night is the last moment of the week during which you can say Havdalah if you forgot to do it Saturday night. There's some meme in the corner if some of you were delinquent. So if you missed Havdalah, up until this exact moment as the sun goes down Tuesday night, you can still claim that Shabbat is ending. And then you go to sleep, and you wake up the next morning, and in the Shir Shel Yom for Wednesday, you end with L'chuna Ranana, beginning Shabbat again, as it were. There's something ironic about Shabbat. Shabbat doesn't know if it's a day that is perfectly bound or has no boundaries whatsoever. Right? Perfectly disconnected from the rest of the week and different, or something that has to emanate and bleed into the rest of the week for it to be relevant. That is how I feel about the learning that we did here. There's a piece of me, when I look in your eyes, and I remember what we discussed together, that wants to keep it just to ourselves. What happens in RLI 5 stays in RLI 5. It's too secret, it's too sweet, it's too layered, it's too complicated. No one will get it. It's impossible to translate it. This is the Shabbat that is divided from the rest of our experiences. No one else deserves to look into it. Or, the whole purpose of what we're doing is so that we bleed organically and interestingly and naturally, and so that the Torah that we imbibed here has a chance of being imbibed by others wherever we find ourselves, because ultimately that's why we were convened. I feel both urges powerfully, especially as this room has in it both the people with whom I shared this unique experience and people who might be learning from me about it in the future in Los Angeles. And the machriya for me, the decider, is a text from it is prohibited for a waiter to bring delicious smelling food to a meal if the people seated at the meal will not give some of that food to the waiter. It's a prohibition to be in ownership of such important and delicious morsels and not share it. In fact, there's stories in that page of the Gemara, in Ketubot Samach Aleph, of students who said they were sitting with their rabbis when a delicious meal was brought in front of them. Is that food or is it Torah? And they said, had I not tasted, it would have been dangerous for me. It would have been sakanat nefashot. This idea that the tradition stands against your holding on to something precious and being selfish about it and not sharing it. Or as Danielle has been teaching us throughout, this Torah is meant to be grounded here and learned here and shared there. The Beit Midrash's relevance begins when you end it. And so, as this experience comes to a close, I hold on to both of those urges and make a commitment to myself to be a rabbi and a teacher a bit more courageous, a bit more chutzpahdik, a bit more eager not to hold on to the sweet teachings that I think are only for me, but to share them with my community and the world at large. But there is a piece, my dear friends, that is just for us. And I think about a teaching we learned with you, Malila, when we studied Shavuot about 1.5 years ago. And you wrote a text, I believe it was from the Zohar, where the rabbis were looking at the pasuk, Mizot Ola Min Hamidbar, which means, on a pshat level, who is this who is emerging from the wilderness? But they don't read Midbar as wilderness, they read it as Dibur. Who is this that is ascending from our Diburim, from our imagination, from our conversations, from our Sichot? It is the Shekhinah herself. The Shekhinah herself emerges from this beautiful collection of shared Torah and ascends to the heavens. She is the heavens. So when I look at all of you, my dear friends, I say, Mi Zot Ola Min Hamidbar. Who is it that has coalesced and emerged from our Diburim? A beautiful Chavraya. You are also beautiful and important to me. Mizot Olam Min Hamidbar, who is it who ascends from that which we have discussed? You in my heart, and hopefully in one another's hearts. And that is something that resides just within here and will reside there forever. And for this institute and for your leadership and for our conversations together and for you yourselves, I have nothing but gratitude and nothing but song. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto. 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 Modeh ani.
I want to thank the graduation planning committee this summer, chaired by Paul Cohen, with Matthew Berkowitz and Aaron Lieb-Smokler, who helped plan this final summer experience for their class. And Paul is now going to make a presentation to them.
Tina, I think I need your glasses. It is my honor to represent the RLA 5 cohort in expressing our gratitude now, not just with words, but also in a material way, to several individuals who have enriched our experience in so many different ways that made it more fulfilling and indeed more meaningful to us. First, in appreciation for this incredible 3-year journey, we are making an $18,000 donation to the Hartman Elifelet Daycare Center in Tel Aviv. The Hartman Institute, in partnership with the Elifelet Association, launched a daycare and learning center in December of 2015 to improve the quality of life, education, and health of 25 children aged 3 to 6 who are considered at the highest risk developmentally, financially, and domestically. Our inspiration for this donation comes from the excellent example set by the Machon, by you, Danielle, Yehuda, the faculty, and all the staff, that Torah does not remain in the Beit Midrash. It must flow into the world through deeds of loving kindness. As a group, we also want to publicly thank 5 people at the Machon who made our program flow so smoothly and for the loving care shown to each of us. Matthew Berkowitz, a member of our cohort and a brilliant artist, created pieces that we would like to present now. And I want to share his words about the significance of each piece. Rabbi Lauren Birkin. In this piece, Matt wanted to understand the essence of what it is to be a Hebrew, Ivri. And so he turned to the root of Ivri and followed it through its evolution. Ivri refers to Abraham as the one who crossed over. Journey is at the essence of who we are as a people. That same root, ayin vet resh, appears in the quintessential expression for freedom, ve'avarta shofar trua. You will sound the call of the shofar. Surrounding the entire piece, we have the feel of the tributaries. This piece is perfect for Lauren because Lauren set us all off on this remarkable journey. She led us across paths we had never imagined, and in so doing, helped us all experience the full bracha of our freedom. Thank you, Lauren. Noam, I'm not going to ask you to come forward. But I am going to share this piece, and maybe somebody can transport this to... And hold it up. I'm sorry, hold it up. Yes, thank you. So this is plate 18 in every generation. The quintessential teaching of the Haggadah is B'chol dor vador chayav adam lirot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mimitzrayim. This illumination is a constant reminder of the journey undertaken by our ancestors. In addition, we see the text that we too are redeemed with them. Noam, this is a dangerous gift, Matt's words, to the master of the Haggadah. You accompanied us every step of our journey. We wandered together. We wish it could have been 40 years together, but for your sake, thank God, it's only 3. We could not have asked for a more generous spirit to be there for us. Your neshama knows no bounds when it comes to sharing Torah, learning b'chavruta, curiosity, and compassion. Thank you, Noam. Dr. B.T. Roy. B.T., will you come forward? This is plate 25, Echad Mi Yodea. Echad Mi Yodea is a frenetic quiz of numerical associations of Jewish tradition. The song captures the spirits of the evening, alternating between questions and answers. It attests to the ongoing creativity of the tradition, exemplifying the dictum, "All who embellish the story of the Exodus are to be praised." Highlighting the breadth of Jewish tradition, the song encourages us to delve deeper into its layers. Biti, you are about Kabbalah, meaning, deep, deep questions and loving engagement. The joy with which we sing this song, Seder night, is reflected in the person that you are. Endless joy, warm smiles, and a consistently loving embrace. Thank you, Biti. Marlene, if you'll come forward. Marlene, this is plate 19 in Israel's departure. This vibrant, colorful plate contains the text of Psalm 114, how all of creation danced as the Israelites left Egypt. Objects defy their limitations. The inanimate flint is transformed into a spring of water. Weary souls become fertile ground for a nation. Each Israelite acquires identity in the experience of their personal and collective freedom. Marlene, you certainly made the waters part for us. You're just as much a miracle worker as Moshe Rabbeinu. Your attention, your attention to detail, your calm nature, your endless patience and love for us are reflected in this illumination. Thank you, Marlene. Sharon Laffer, if you'll come forward. This is plate 10, Covenant of the Parts. This plate reflects the promise given to Abraham in Genesis 15, namely that his descendants will be enslaved in a strange land, but ultimately they will go free with great wealth. It all begins with a dream, a journey, and a promise. Sharon, you were consistently there for all of us in bringing this dream to fruition as you dealt with seemingly endless logistics of our program. We simply cannot express our appreciation enough. And now you embark on another great journey in San Diego. You will be sorely missed at the Machon and certainly by all of us from RLA 5. We hope to see you stateside and then back again in Israel. Thank you. Danielle, if you'll come forward. This final plate, plate number 2, saturating its furrows. I'm not going to ask you to pick it up. This final illumination is connected to the mitzvah of Hava'at Bikurim, the bringing of the first fruits, as described in Deuteronomy 26. Once the Israelites come into the land of Israel and become settled, they are to bring a basket of their first fruits, taken from the 7 species of the land, and then they recite the Vidui, Arami Oved Avi, closing with the recognition of God, bringing them to a land flowing with milk and honey, as well as expressing their appreciation to God for the journey. To you, Danielle, to the entire Machon, to you, Yehuda, Toda Rabbah, for an extraordinary journey, for deepening our connection to the people and to the land of Israel, and all that you have invested in each of us. May we all go together, Michael L'chael. Thank you.
It is my honor and privilege to present to you the graduating class of RLI 5. And as I call each one of them up, and I will present them with a diploma conferring upon them the title of Senior Hartman Rabbinic Fellow, Justice Baird. Matthew Berkowitz. Jim Bennett. Jacob Blumenthal. Neil Blumoff. Daniel Bogard. Paul Cohen. Shoshana Conover. Adam Cutler.
Everybody who did this before I come.
Ed Elkin. Shira Kachabstein. Alex Felch. Linda Henry Goodman. Tina Grimberg. Joshua Hoffman. Sarah Horwitz. David Ingber. Adam Kligfeld. Aaron Lieb Smokler. Marion Lev Cohen. Joel Pikowski. Michael Resnick. Eric Solomon. Howard Stecker. Ari Sunshine. Orna Triguboff. And Mark Wolf. Mazel tov to everyone in Our Life 5.
So first of all, I want to say to Our Life 5 that you are a particularly special group. And yes, I do say that to all of the RLIs. Although, the truth is that RLI 4 started here on the first day that I had this job. And RLI 5, by the time you guys started, I actually knew a little bit about what I was doing. So I do feel a tremendous sense of gratitude for the time I spent with you, the learning I did with you, and felt always when I was with you that I wasn't teaching, but I was learning together with you. I want to go back to one of the last texts that we studied together, the story of Choni, and his experience of both being recognized by the people who came after him as having been such an incredibly important member of the chain of the tradition, someone who they looked back upon when he found himself dislocated and out of time, someone they looked back upon as having been a real master of the tradition, but who found himself stuck without members of his own age peers, and dies with this incredibly tragic, give me chavruta or give me death. And it strikes me, and we talked about this a little bit when we learned, that Choni represents the main challenge of rabbinic leadership, what you all put yourself into, which is the willingness to inhabit the center of the axis between the vertical, being the people who represent tradition, who are the receivers of the Masorah and Kabbalah of those who come before, and the axis of the horizontal, who see themselves not merely responsible, because none of you do this, not merely responsible for perpetuating a tradition solely for the purpose of being able to hand it off to those who come after you, but responsible for teaching that tradition to those in your own generation, with that incredibly powerful emotional challenge of being primarily responsible for the 30 or 40 years in which Torah is actually at your disposal. This is incredibly holy work that you do. It's possible to be the types of leaders who only think of themselves as responsible for the past and in some ways responsible for the future. And it's also possible to be Jewish leaders who only see themselves as responsible for the present. But a rabbi, the full holy responsibility of a rabbi is to precisely inhabit that difficult axis of the intersection between the horizontal and the vertical. And with this challenging job, you came to our Beit Midrash with an atmosphere of trust, maybe a little bit of trepidation, that this Beit Midrash could be the type of place that would hold you, that would enable those of you who think more in the vertical to be a little bit more horizontal, and those of you who think more in horizontal and personal relationships to be able to access more of the past of the tradition in order to give you the confidence to pass it on to the next generation. And I hope that you found in this Beit Midrash a Beit Midrash that is more like a field where the people are reaping and sowing than the cave in which the rabbi can isolate himself from the world. Or true to my own personal experience of what a yeshiva Beit Midrash should be like, a Beit Midrash that locates itself more in a valley, knowing that the real work is when you leave and go back out to the people than on the top of a mountain, pretending as though it is a pinnacle of where you're supposed to be. A challenge that we hope you took was that on one hand, this should have felt at times, maybe with the fruit, like an oasis, but an oasis not where you simply take respite from where you came before, but in which you had to do really hard work. We wanted it to be a little bit of both. And hopefully there were moments along the way when you were working too hard at home and you showed up here in order to find an oasis, and times in which you were coasting at home and had to show up here in order to do the really hard work. And so I want to conclude with a paraphrase of the Mishnah from Brachot about Nechunya ben Akana and the bracha that you make upon entering the study house. We used to make two brachot, one upon entering the study house and one upon leaving the study house. The bracha that he used to make upon entering the study house was praying that he wouldn't make a mistake. And the bracha that he would make upon leaving the study house was to express a gratitude for his chelek, for his portion. I hope that this program gave you, and will continue to give you as you come into this Beit Midrash, a sense that I think this text means to convey, that a journey through Torah into a Beit Midrash and out should be a journey from anxiety to accountability. When Nechunya says that he is anxious about making a mistake, and when I heard you talking about your experiences walking into this Beit Midrash, not sure who you were in this program, not sure what it was that you were going to be taught, not sure about your own text learning or non-text learning, that a Beit Midrash can be a place that fosters a sense of anxiety. But that once you actually inhabit a Beit Midrash, there's no way in which you can do it successfully in which you don't take part in that Beit Midrash, in which you do not have a chelek. A chelek that, once you actually leave it, is going to make this place feel a little bit lesser and a little bit weaker because you've taken a piece with it. We hope you come back. We want your chelek always to be among the yoshvei this Beit Midrash. We've been enriched by having you here. We have learned tremendously from having you here. We hope you come back and that you carry forth this Torah with that deep sense of having been on a journey from some anxiety to some accountability. And we hope that on leaving this Beit Midrash, that it is a journey always upward, never downward from a mountain, but always back to the people. And so I say, in the words of our tradition, Alu v'hatzlichu. Mazel tov.
Az Yashir Yisrael et Hashira Hazot. We'll end this evening with song, and I'll invite all of the members of our Life 5 to come up and to share a nigun which has been very special to them throughout their journey together.